All right, let me just thank you for coming very quickly. My name is Senator Malcolm Smith. As you know, we are on the cusp of passing some major gun legislation here in Albany, slated to be the toughest legislation in the country. I do know the President and Biden are looking to advance some legislation or some ideas tomorrow. I had the opportunity to be on a conference call with the Vice President last week, offering my thoughts and some of the thoughts of the state with regard to background checks and a ban on assault weapons, and in particular, and here in New York State and in the urban areas of New York State, the need for increased penalties. I'm joined today from a number of law enforcement organizations. Darren Green, who's the president of the Blacks in Law Enforcement of America, Long Island chapter, and member of the Grand Council of the Guardians. Damon Jones, regional director of Blacks in Law Enforcement of America and member of the Guardian Council. Anthony Miranda, chairman of the Latino Officers Association of America and member of the Grand Council of the Guardians. Eugene Jordan, president, Guardian Association's New York State Courts. Louise Molina, president of the Latino Officers Association, and also a member of the Grand Council. Melvin Marrero, Latinos Association, and also Donna Hood, who was the young lady who has lost her son to illegal gun violence. These individuals have come today to support the governor's legislation pushing for the ban on assault weapons, in addition to increased penalties, as well as background checks and dealing with the mental illness or mental health of individuals. I'm going to call them up individually. We've had meetings already with Dean Skeller's office, Andrew Stewart Cousins, and we were also going to see Senator Jeff Klein at about 2 o'clock. Let me first bring up Darren Green, who is the president of the Blacks in Law Enforcement.
Thanks. Darren Green, president of Blacks in Law Enforcement of America for the Long Island chapter, in full support of the new legislation which the governor is proposing, and as well as the fact that the senator is pushing in aiding. We find it to be very important as we start to deal with these issues of increased penalties and as far as getting legislation pushed to deal with those issues that are concerning mental health. For us, it's important from the law enforcement standpoint to make sure that the enforcement and the new legislation is something that we are in full support of, that our voices have been heard, our concerns have been addressed, and that we're in partnership with the governor's office and as well as the assembly and the senators. And it gives us great pleasure to know that this thing is not going to fall by the wayside, that there are some general and legitimate concerns as to how we're going to protect our children and how we're going to further affect the individuals who are innocent bystanders, who are victims, and parents and children that are victims of gun violence. We can no longer stand by as law enforcement officials and officers and assume that our voices are not going to be heard. So I think at this particular moment in this time, the fact that we are having an opportunity to be a part of such a stiff bill that's going to go forth, the legislation is going to go forth, I think it's important. And more than anything, the fact that it is happening now, at this moment, at this time, it couldn't come at a better time. And the fact that we're going to be part of something that is so important and one of the stiffest bills in the country, it gives us great pleasure to be such a part of something that's going to be so important and to be able to affect change in our own communities, in all communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Let me bring up Donna Hood. She's a young lady who is from Queens, Jamaica, lost her son to illegal guns violence, and understands the importance of increased penalties as relates to this new piece of legislation.
Okay, my name is Donna Hood, and my son Kevin Miller was killed on October 2nd, 2009, and he was an innocent bystander. I'm here standing in full support of this new bill. I would like to see stronger penalties. I don't want another parent to go through what I've been going through for the past 3 years. The kids have easy access to guns. They have to make it a lot more difficult for these kids to get access to illegal guns. If they start somewhere, which this is a start, hopefully it'll be, you know, later on down the line, we'll have a safer community, because I still have a son that I'm still raising, and I have a lot of friends and family that are still raising their kids, and we want to make our community safer.
We'll hear from now Molina, President of the Latino Officers Association.
Thank you. I just want to take this a few minutes to thank Senator Smith and his work with the governor and the rest of the members of the legislature on this gun initiative, in order to hope that it advances the protection not only of the various communities of New York State, but further advances protection of New York's children. We think that that's a very important issue, and as law enforcement officers, we're in full support of this bill. In addition, we hope that the mental health aspects of the bill further advance the conversation regarding mental health not only in New York State, but advances the conversation of mental health around the United States. And we're here in full support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Damon Jones, Blacks Law Enforcement from America, and then we'll hear from Louis Miranda.
Good afternoon. My name is Damon Jones. I'm the New York representative of Blacks Law Enforcement of America. And I'd like to thank Senator Smith for inviting us here to show that law enforcement professionals throughout New York State are in support of proper gun legislation, are in support of governmental responsibility in creating a balance between those who own a gun and creating proper legislation to keep illegal guns off the street. We should not have people owning military capacity weapons in their home. We should not have people owning magazines, high capacity magazines. My wife personally is a detective, and if she's called to a house, she is no match with her 9mm with someone that has an AR-15 and a 30-round clip. It's no way possible that we could do it in law enforcement and keep public safety. The key here is public safety. And also, I would like to let everybody know the support of our national office in Washington, D.C., Executive Director Ron Hampton. And we also have to look at extending the laws for those who carry the guns illegally, and also looking at punishment of those who would like to traffic guns. New York State last year had 8,000 illegal guns off the street. Approximately 1,500 of those guns was purchased in New York State. So you're looking at approximately 7,000 weapons coming into the state across the border and being sold to people in New York State. So we have to look at those legislations. We have to also look at the mental health issue. We must be progressive in moving forward in that, because this is the type of legislation that will save lives, keep people alive, and not only the general public, but law enforcement also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And finally, we'll hear from Anthony Miranda, who is the chairman of the Latino Law Enforcement Association.
And, the National Latino Officers Association is here in support of Senator Malcolm Smith and the introduction of this bill. We want to urge the Senate to pass this bill today. There's a sense of urgency to all of our communities, a need for safety, and we believe that this bill sends the right message. Stiffer penalties for illegal possession of guns, doing away with magazines that are unnecessary with 30 rounds. These are the precautions. We think it's responsible legislation. We think it's effective legislation. And now we want to stand here as law enforcement officers and as fathers and as parents and residents of the city of New York. We want to tell the Senate, today is a good day. And that bill should be passed today because our communities need it, law enforcement officers need it, and we're asking to you to get this bill passed, and we support Senator Malcolm Smith that this bill needs to be passed today. Any delay in passing this bill does all of our communities an injustice, and we're looking for this kind of justice to be settled today. So we thank you, and we appreciate you introducing this bill for all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
Again, this is what I consider to be a landmark piece of legislation. There are a number of pieces in here which are important to various parts of the state, from the mental health capacity area, as well as the assault weapon, and of course, increase in illegal possession, penalties for illegal possession. We are in anticipation and hoping that the bill will come to the floor today. The governor obviously is pursuing it very aggressively, and we are here today with the voices from around the state. and in particular out of law enforcement. There's been a lot of discussion around the separation between where law enforcement and the public is. Well, what you see here today is where law enforcement is in this piece of legislation. They're supporting it. So I want to thank all those who are here today, who came up and made this trip from New York City to underscore the importance of this. Donna, as well, we know that you are in the midst of your trial now and the sentencing process, but we do hope that what occurs here in Albany, and hopefully today, will send a message to those who, in particular, are carrying and look to possess illegal weapons that New York State won't tolerate. So thank you again, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.